Welcome to the channel about news from around the world. While you subscribe and like it, we're going to start.
The events in Europe, which began in 2022, took the whole world by surprise. While in the beginning the US was still able to push its agenda, the situation has now changed. More and more countries and territories are convinced that the US is playing its own game, which is far from the ideals of democracy proclaimed in words. 20 years ago, the US got away with it. We are talking about the operation in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now the situation is different. The world is determined to end the era of Washington's dictatorship. It is as determined as Moscow is. Whether they want to or not, they need another titan to fight against a titan. There are always several of them in the world, and changes can come only if someone wants them. In this case, Moscow and Beijing wanted change and Washington had to give in, even though it is resisting. At one time, Henry Kissinger developed the concept of a triangle, in which relations with Washington would be stronger than those on the other axes. But the triangle has broken down and the time has come to develop new concepts. But they will be developed not in the West, but in Russia and the East. In fact, where is it all going here? The news has come, and not just any news. Comparable to the discovery of America, but still. Experts in Brazil have announced that Washington's actions are weakening Europe. Who would have thought? Pepe Escobar believes this is an American enterprise directed against both Europe and Russia. Because one of the aims of the neoconservatives who unleashed this enterprise, and who have been trying to unleash it for at least 8 years, is to deindustrialize Europe. To sever economic ties, especially between Germany, the European Union and Russia, and to turn Europe as a whole into a vassal of the empire. That is, the expert is saying what everyone involved in the issue already knows. But, there is an important but here. It is known to us, we forget that not everyone has access to information like we do. And this is not about the capabilities of the intelligence services, but about the people. The world outside the superpowers is a battlefield of those powers. And people in such territories are used to living in maneuver, that is, to take one point of view or the other, but not to stick to theirs. Despite the fact that they will pay lip service to the contrary. It is not difficult to see this in the example of the former Soviet Union or any other third world country. An agenda of its own? No, there is none. The state takes one side or the other, the side of the US, Russia or China. Somewhere the reference point is Europe, the EU. Somewhere it is India, Australia. Somewhere it is blocked by any other major state, which is close enough to include the country in its orbit. These states, in turn, align themselves around another great power or superpower. Their populations, their elites act in concert with the agenda of the leading country. In economics, this is fashionably called a macro-region. In politics, there is no generally accepted appellation yet. I think the economic term macro-region will come here as well. The closest analog is sphere of influence, not quite in line with today's reality, but close to it. Building examples on a chain, of course, can be tried, but the world is changing rapidly and it is too early to do so yet. The bottom line is this: societies, peoples and states that are not clearly part of a certain region become an arena of confrontation, which in turn forces people living there to accept the mainstream viewpoint. To go with the flow. Expecting such countries to choose you unambiguously is meaningless. Brazil, as part of BRICS, has already decided on its role in the New World Order, and the voices that have begun to be heard are proof that the country is moving further down this path. And that's encouraging. The more states see that Europe is a colony, the quieter the European voice and the demands of Europeans will be. And the fact that they will all speak on command will only confirm this louder. Actually, we should talk about this separately, but we are now witnessing an interesting turn of history. Firstly, the colonial powers themselves are becoming colonies. Secondly, the neo-colonial system is coming to an end. Finally, a new version of the neo-colonial system is being built, where there is an original colony, followed by a quasi-metropolitan colony, which in turn is a colony of the real metropolis. It is somewhat reminiscent of vassalage, where there is a suzerain and a vassal, but the vassal is a suzerain to someone else. Considering that the Anglo-Saxons rule the ball in this system, and in England it was a rule that the vassal of my vassal was also my vassal. One servant can have many masters. One cannot be a servant of two masters. Let's see how that turns out.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested, Subscribe and leave a comment.